Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Air. Really excited today. I'm joined by not one, but two guests. I've got Julia Nimchinski, who's the CEO of HYPCCCCYCL and founder of HYPCCCCYCL, and also Justin Michael, co-founder of HYPCCCCYCL as well, but also many of my audience would have seen Justin's content all over LinkedIn. I actually shared a stage with him, virtual stage, a couple of years ago at SaaS Growth, gave a talk as well, and heard him talk a number of times. Both got books out as well, so we've got loads to talk about today. Before we get into topic, though, I'm just going to give these guys 60 seconds each. Guys, I'd like to give my guests 60 seconds just to really quickly cover off. I'll let you go in order. Who's Julia? Who are HYPCCCCYCL? Or any other projects that you're working on, just to give our audience that don't know you, which won't be many, I'm sure, a bit of a quick understanding of your background and who you are. Julia, would you like to go first? Is that right? Happy
to be here, Owen.
Thank you.
Have this conversation going. My name is Julia. Just kidding. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm based in Tel Aviv. We have no levels here, so that's why I decided to scale that kind of trend into the name of our project, HYPCCCCYCL, HYPCCCCYCL, HYPERCYCLE. I heard a ton of different variations, but yeah, I spent a decade in marketing, different roles, from CMO to product marketing, PR, you name it, wherever you had. Founded a company within a company, a startup within a startup, always was working in early stage companies. So invited Justin to be the face of it. And that's how this project started. Justin.
Wow, 60 seconds to talk about myself. I want to
can you
do it? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really passionate about sales, and I have a methodology and, writing some books on this subject, but really the last couple of years has been great meeting Julia and working in the GTM space, which I think that's where we're all going, So I was a MC on this really cool project that she built, a startup within a startup, and then been doing go-to-market cross-training, and I'm living proof that a seller doing a lot of marketing, at least simulations, can improve elements of sales. So I think that's the exciting piece on the show.
Love that. And that's where I want to start. So go-to-market cross-training. Julia, Justin, we talked before, and the conversation before we went live on this is, the salespeople have to be marketers. Marketers have to be salespeople now to be successful. I'd love to get your thoughts. If you think about an audience member we've got now, let's say a typical BDR, SDR, maybe AE, they're out there thinking of themselves as a salesperson. They haven't thought about themselves as a marketer before, and we're listening to this and we're thinking, geez, I've got to go and think about marketing. Where do they start? What's the starting point for you to start that journey as a sales rep?
Well, the biggest one is to walk a mile in marketing shoes. So we talk about, sales and marketing alignment for years and ages. But for some reason, the industry is not getting there. And for some reason, this conversation keeps recurring again and again. And I don't know, Alan, you run an agency. I want to ask you how aligned sales and marketing is. Have you met someone aligned? Let's get to this point.
Define aligned.
KPIs, compensation, productivity, go to market.
Yeah, look, I think the honest answer is no. I think people would like to think they are, and they're certainly more aligned. At least I see more aligned than we were on average 5 years ago. But there's a hell of a long way to go, right? And I don't think I've ever seen an organisation that I go into where I can truly say their sales and marketing team are working towards one shared goal with a shared set of metrics and KPIs and shared rewards. I haven't seen that. I'm yet to see that.
Definitely. We see the same. Justin is a sales technologist, futurist, and he wrote an amazing book like 2 years ago. That's how I got to know him. And, back at that time when no one was talking about RevOps, he already predicted this trend. And the trend is that technology is consolidating. And we see alpha platforms, Uber platforms, and basically this consolidation trend, it's a very aligned trend. And it predicts function of RevOps, Chief Customer Officer, but for some reason, it's still not happening in terms of human skills and the skills of being able to collaborate and understand the tech and actually work with it day by day. So our mission is to, it comes from practice. I've been a marketer who was reporting to the VP of sales, the only marketer in the company. And as you can imagine, it was a disaster. There is no common, we speak English, but it's kind of a different kind of language.
Yeah.
So there's this ongoing bias, and I'm happy to learn from you, Justin, on the sales front. From marketers, we are really curious in sales, and it's not even curiosity, it's more of a necessity. That's what marketing function is, essentially. You have to drive revenue when you create or working on, whatever campaign. Obviously, we're thinking about, the pipeline and not just some creativity going on, post, repost, likes, etc. But from the sales front, we always feel, and I'm speaking like a common voice from marketers because I'm in a lot of marketing communities. I know, thousands of marketers, and I keep hearing it all over again and again, that there's this skepticism that we don't get it. We don't bring revenue. And that creates that mindset. It creates this silo that you don't really, want to cross, and you are almost feeling intimidated by the sales side. How about you, Justin?
So, the benefits of doing almost 200 of these, virtual events and, co-writing the book with Julia, I think what I've learned from marketing is to be more process driven. There's more or equal method in marketing. It's just not given fancy names like, cool acronyms like MEDIC or MANDACT or MEDPIC, right? But it's there, like the Sanger Vajra stuff. So just trying to be more data driven, more organized, and then like understanding customers, customer centricity. I wrote a section in the book, like, oops, we're going to talk about sales now. And there's a lot of comparisons to like sharks and sea lions and orcas and things. And Julia was like, I don't know if that's customer centric.
Valid, very valid point. It's really interesting listening to you talk about this because you're coming from the opposite perspective. You're getting to the same result, which is, I guess, why you work so well together. When we think about taking a salesperson and getting them more open to marketing, how would you, Julia, emphasize that point in terms of the importance? Because I guess it's easy to say to somebody, hey, you've got to go and be a marketeer. You've got to go and be better at it. You've got to understand it. How do you emphasize the importance of that someone? How do you get them thinking and having an appetite to go and do that when probably they've spent the first 5-10 years of their career thinking fairly, let's face it, one-dimensionally in terms of got to go and hunt revenue through conversation, meetings, picking up the phone, cold email, whatever it might be?
Oh, and I feel that, it's not me needing to emphasize the importance, but it's the market that does it already. So we're in a market when you have to be that. You have to be, you have to be customer centric. You have to position yourself. It's not a question of it's a nice to have kind of a skill set to be able to copyright, but it's your essential skill being in sales now. You have to, write sequences. You have to position your product on LinkedIn or whatever channel you're using. And, you can't do it in a salesy way, obviously, because you won't get the clout out there. You won't get the engagement. So you have to really have this marketing mindset. How do I storytell? How do I, instead of pitch slapping on the first call, how do I drag it a little and let the customer talk? Listen to a ton of conversations. We had this amazing case on GTM Games. We'll have to talk about it. We had Alice Hyman coming in, and it was a cold calling CEO drill. 6 sellers, they show up, and then she breaks our challenge, breaks our format, and she goes, I'm a CEO. I'm never answering my phone. So now you have 5 minutes to think how you can engage me in a conversation like a marketer, whatever channel, whatever creativity, go. And all the sellers, like 4 of them, out of 6, to be clear, they still call her. So they weren't even listening to what she was saying. It's funny because, it was almost like hysterical in a virtual event format. So no one could believe that it could happen like consequently. And yeah, but it's happening in real life, and, it's not that fun there.
No, really interesting. Justin, just a quick question, please. So let's maybe give the audience some tips, some ideas. How do you go about aligning sales and marketing? Now, that is a massive question, but I'm just keen to get some bits out of your head in terms of some of the things that you'd be saying that you need to do within an organization at a SLT, senior leadership, cultural perspective, directional perspective for an organization. How do I go about aligning sales and marketing truly?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is just like, take my word for it, because I called Scott Leese. I was working in the Empire State Building, like maybe 10 years ago. And I'm like, what sales books do you read? He's like, don't read sales books. You can go surf, get caught under a wave or something, go rock climbing. I'm like, okay, yeah, experiential. So take my word for it in the sense that I've done this. Like, you're going to be a better seller and you're going to close more revenue and make more commission by studying marketing. And we're starting to see a lot of the top sales leaders, I won't name names, in podcasts saying, hey, salespeople need to become micro marketers. Well, as a salesperson, it's like your branding, your marketing, optimizing conversions off your profile, all your messaging, your sequencing, your targeting. I mean, the alignment is that rather than having resentment toward marketing and thinking that their campaigns don't work, go meet with them, reach out across the aisle, eliminate the aisle, sit in on the meetings, take them to coffee, see where you can collaborate, show them some of the really cool messaging and targeting tactics and techniques, and have them plan ABM tactics around it, and just become one team if you can, even if you're a little pocket together in the org. That would be the tactical advice. Julia, did I miss the mark?
No, I totally agree with you. I think that, I probably got the Justin fluent sense of selling, and I'll be a little self-promotional here, but we saw amazing use cases when GTM games were almost implemented, within corporations. So and we were invited not only once to do something like that, in person. So you would take your CMO and you would take your VP of sales, and you would create like a couple of, like sort of learning experience drills for your team, but meaning like the VP of sales would coach marketing team and the other way around. So that's really interesting. And I think that, we could even scale it more in terms of doing weekly meetings like that, where the VP of sales would meet with the marketing team and oversee some of their activities and vice versa. That could really result in something more tangible.
Just a thought. I don't get where this comes from, because if you look at anything else that's a team game, a team sport, and maybe, I've got, Justin, I assume you are American. I've got an American, so maybe using soccer, which is my sport, is the wrong one. But take American football, something I don't know as well, but I get the logic of you've got an offensive team and a defensive team, and one's on the pitch at a time and the other's doing something else, and they're back on the pitch another time. And I can't imagine a professional NFL team saying, the defense aren't part of the team, and criticizing them. I could imagine them seeing themselves as one team, even though they're on the pitch at different times, doing different things. The best practice is they see themselves as a team, and they treat themselves as a team off the pitch and on the pitch when they're together, and they think as one, and they train as one, and they socialize as one, and they become one. Yet in professional world of revenue growth, of growing a business, we don't think that way. Where does this come from? Why is this the case in business, but yet in so many other parts of life, a team can be segmented into the things that you're good at, yet still be seen far more as an aligned unit?
My opinion is that compensation is the answer. And if you work in marketing, and for us marketers, we're KPI'd and compensated based on the MQLs. And then when, you just, the main thing that you do is messaging, really. And when you see that messaging going off, when you listen to the calls, when you rewatch the recordings, and you see that the seller has no clue what, they talk about in terms of the product that they sell. It's needless to say upsetting. And again, for sellers, I totally get it that, if you don't get enough MQLs and you have to constantly, go out there and prospect and there is not enough pipeline, obviously it creates this tension. And, what is that creativity all about if I don't have the pipeline, right? Justin, what about you?
Wow. Okay. Well, the big thing is there's just like salespeople have a bad rap in society because we've all just been hard closed and we just get pitch slapped all day in LinkedIn, no matter what. We just open our LinkedIn and every single recommendation, if you just accept one, within seconds, you get the automation like, hi, Justin, boom, boom, boom. It just comes rolling in. Just, I was on 13 sales teams probably. And there was sort of like marketing was kind of in control, like they generated the leads, but we couldn't really control what they were doing. And then they sort of were irritated that we weren't closing those leads and the leads didn't align with what we were going after. And in some of the teams, we had consistent ABM calls and we went after the same ones. It was very aligned. So it wasn't blanketed, but I think, there's that resentment for the other function that just builds in general. So salespeople, when they get really good, it's a lone wolf mentality, like just stay away from marketing. Although 40% of SDRs roll up to marketing. And I've met very many sophisticated marketers who just have a pro SDR culture and want to write short emails and want to do stuff that's cutting edge. But I've met some companies where the marketing team's like, we finally took the prospecting away from the SDRs and the sellers, like just marketing's just doing automation because it didn't work. So there's like no faith in sales. So that's some of the hostility that brews.
Yeah, really interesting. So let's jump on its head. I think you've got marketers, or managed to get marketers doing cold calling, haven't you? So looking at it the other way around, you've got exposed marketing people to the sales action that is cold calling and to some of those activities. How have you found that?
You mean the productivity of that, or?
Yeah, well, just the experience, just getting. I mean, we talked earlier about getting sales reps to get into marketing and go and walk a mile, and obviously you've done that with go-to-market games and a lot of the work that you're doing, where you're getting marketeers to walk a mile in sales shoes and go and make cold calls. That might even be live as part of go-to-market games. I'm just keen to hear what a marketing perception is of going and doing that part of the journey.
Marketers would over prepare all the time, so we would just go and just prospect for, people in our community, best of the best, and we would offer them to participate and always, almost like suddenly just calm them down. Hey, there's no preparation involved. You just show up, they teach you something, and you go in basic role playing. There's nothing, there. Yeah, maybe in 2 months from now, I'll just watch your recordings and, get prepped. Like, no, it's exactly what we don't want to happen. We don't want anyone to shine on the events. We don't want, you to be prepared. The point is that you come as you are, you know your product, you know what you're marketing, you know what you're selling, and, you learn something and just roll with it, get coached and roll again. Mm-hmm. So sellers would just wing it. They don't really care. No problem. Tomorrow, today, if they have the availability, meetings booked, great. So with marketing is the other way around. Justin, how about you?
Well, I'll just say that we had marketing folks on that would just do the work. Like, I practice the cold calls, And salespeople just generally, like Julia said, they wing it for the marketing drills. They have like this amazing confidence. Like, we're just going to go fly planes. Okay, cool. I'll just show up. So I think salespeople think marketing's easy. And I think marketing folks, they might overestimate the level of effort just to have conversations. Thinking there's such strengths and, it's two sides of the same coin. Julia was saying this 2 years ago that, marketing and sales are one functioning, or that, Julia has a lot of good one-liners in this area that I didn't understand, but I'm starting to see that,
Yeah. And so HYPCCCCYCL is about helping people to run virtual events, to monetize virtual events, to generate genuine pipeline using virtual events. So that link between sales and marketing. And obviously you guys have gone into that together. Go-to-market games you've collaborated on as well. So you're obviously enjoying working together. Talk us through the kind of the way that an organization can use virtual events to genuinely generate pipeline, generate revenue. Because I think a lot of, particularly since virtual became so much more of a, I say possibility, but an obvious thing to do with COVID and all that sort of stuff, what you've seen is lots of people do virtual events for the sake of doing virtual events. Whether they have key objectives, whether they actually generate pipeline from it, whether it actually adds value to people, I often question the amount of, a bit like you saying there, Justin, on LinkedIn, you get pitch slapped 12 times and you sign in. Mine are event invites. I could go to a webinar every 10 minutes or a virtual event every 10 minutes, and they all look pretty rubbish, to be perfectly frank. And I'm keen to get your take on, like, how do you do it well? What does a good virtual event look like? And not just good in terms of content, but good in terms of it adds, it lets you monetize, it adds pipeline, it adds genuinely drives leads into the business. Just keen to get some of your expertise out of your head.
I'll say something that will sound like fluff, but I'm happy to go more tactical with it. So the answer is to make the event customer-centric. And I'm sure, we're all seeing, in all of the analyst reports, all of the vendors out there, everyone is evangelizing customer centricity and the importance of it. But then we have pitch slapping, and then we have, retargeting ads, and then we have a ton of other stuff that is not really customer centric. So if we take event as a channel, and the reason, I'm sure that Justin couldn't think like 2 years ago that he would write a book about virtual event. So neither I, but this is a channel for B2B marketing. So historically, it's the only real channel that really converted well and was a good, return on investment. Yes, you can run ads, and all the folks out there can go to you, Owen, all the secrets, how to do it. But normally, a lot of people, feel the pain of CAC, let's say so. And it's a real pain. I felt it too. So my creative spin on it is to create an experience where you forget yourself as a vendor, where you forget about your amazing CEO, about your pitch, about your decks, about your, partners, and you think about that target persona, potential customer. You take some time to really hop on, 10 Zoom calls, 20 Zoom calls, whatever, and talk to them and start build the relationship, not build it in a way that, hey, like, I'm going to ask you 10 questions now and you'll feel it. And it's, it has to be genuine. It has to be almost like a friendship. Just take a virtual coffee, take a couple of virtual coffees, try to understand that person, what he cares about, what they care about, and try to use some insight and convert it into a virtual event experience. For me personally, was once with Justin is CEOs like to call calls, VPs of sales like to call or listen to call calls. Could never imagine that, could never uncover that by running any survey. But after having enough conversations, that proven to be true and generated an amazing pipeline for the product that I was marketing. Marketers and sellers are secretly, they're really interested in two of these functions and they really want to try it out. But they are, for some insecurities and human nature, it doesn't let it to happen, and you would not be transparent about it. So every time when I ask a question, hey, why are you in sales and not in marketing? And they couldn't answer. Or it's like, yeah, maybe someday, I don't know, it just was an open role, and the stars and like that was the answer approximately. Or they already had an experience in marketing and they transitioned into sales because of revenue or obvious reasons. So I'm going on a rant with this, but in short form, to create a good customer-centric event, just have that insight, uncover that pain, and put your customer in the center of it, make it interactive. And Justin, dive in.
Yeah, so a lot of the beauty of this book is it really captures it on the front cover, right? It's simulations, role plays, drills, live coaching. So when you sit and watch statically, there's this learning pyramid, and whether this has been debunked or not, I mean, there's some sales enablement experts, but the truth is, if you're coaching each other and you're trying out new skills and you're talking through with experts and you're getting outside of your comfort zone and you're doing some type of other, even intellectually or mentally pushing yourself to consider ad targeting on metadata, it takes the seller out of their zone of comfort. The audience is really pulled in because it's like watching, a fish do a backflip or what, like ride a bicycle. I think fish do backflips, so frequently actually, like sailfish. But that's the big thing. Now, even this podcast is doing it because you're improving and it's improvisational. So even that, like taking it from flat with total scripted, like very careful who answers what, all the questions are canned, to making it more creative and improvised. Like Julia was coming with ideas like have the audience jump in, just call someone into competition. You can host it, you keep it like organized chaos, not total chaos, someone's just suddenly on the line. But I think that's the stuff that's made it revolutionary and groundbreaking. Everyone's looking to read the book, like what are the tech stacks? Like, can we have avatars, can I have a unicorn head and be in the metaverse? It's like, yeah, you can do all that. It's still going to be flat. Because just like a great story and a great movie, this is why like European cinema is cinema and American movies are, right? All superhero, everything's blowing up. It's still not the story, right?
So very different. So you touched on that, Justin. So the tech stack piece, obviously the world has jumped on providing a technology solution for live events in the last couple of years. And with that, you've got your really good pieces of tech and you've got some other stuff. What are you finding is working best for you guys? What are you recommending as a good tech stack to drive good quality modern events?
I would prefer to be Switzerland here. Just very selfish reasons. We collaborate and partner with top 70 sponsors in B2B. So I just don't want to prioritize one or the other. I genuinely believe that it's about the concept. We run our event on Zoom. We don't use, all of the fancy platforms. We're happy to partner with all of them and to really give them, a bite of that experience. But for us personally, it's easier. It's not about the technology, full with the tools still full, right? So to quote Joe Raleigh, we genuinely believe in that, and we try to be as customer-centric as possible and focus on the quality of the event itself versus the technology and, the effects that Justin is talking about.
So does that mean I should be Switzerland too? I mean, so things work out well for Switzerland. What can I say? I mean, there's a lot of really cool tech out there to check out. I mean, there's a lot of legacy players from Cvent. I mean, check out cool companies like Bizzabo, Airmeet. I could throw out a lot, right? There's some where there's avatar-based communities or metaverse-based communities, and there's ones with breakout rooms and managing tickets, and we go into all that. We put some stacks in there. But again, if you have here are my awesome C-levels talking about our awesome product, or you sneak in and you're like, we got to get this webinar, it's amazing. And it's just pitching or hidden pitching. People just tune out. Like I can tell you as a sales leader, I just multitask that stuff. Yeah. It's just background music, So like, if you want people to engage, put in a customer story. And that's why Dreamforce, Salesforce does this really well. They have a panel. Like I just saw an ad recently where it was it was staged, or maybe it was real, but it was the CEO of T-Mobile talking to the CEO of Alaska Airlines about continuous Wi-Fi. Like for real, you get in the plane and you're still on the Wi-Fi and it's good. And that's customer centric. And it just really reminded me of Julia's concept. I'm like, wow, that's it.
When you talk about these live events, and obviously you're talking, with your go-to-market games is a great example. You get people involved in the event who are not part of HYPCCCCYCL. They're not part of the organization. They're part of your world. I'm guessing some unpredictability comes with that, because you get people, for example, I can't remember, I think it was go-to-market games. If it wasn't, it was a cold calling competition. I think one of the guests, tech didn't work on the day, and he sat there waiting for calls to come in, and the phone system wasn't working. And for an hour, just ended up talking at the camera and chatting, and the event was totally not what was planned. But in some ways, there's probably some value in that, because it changed the dynamic, and people potentially got drawn in or drawn out depending on the relevance of the conversation. And just wanted to take on that. You talked there about the scripted conversation versus the free. You must get some interesting stuff happening on those live events, and I'm guessing it feels like that's okay. Go with it, move on the day, make it flex depending on what's happening.
I think the biggest Owen is that people underestimate how much work it takes to put a customer-centric event together. And moreover, how much effort it takes to really build a community. And it really takes a lot of hours, so to say, a lot of we had, coaches canceling last minute, like literally, 2 minutes before the event. We had end games like with the VC. We had someone, like Marco Berge, and the contestant would message, "Oops, I can't make it," and we were almost going live. So stuff like that is happening all the time. It's just, again, I feel that if you build a good community, if you are trying to put really high quality content out there for the community, and you know what they're looking for, and it engages them, it's not going to be a problem to put up all of these fires or to find other participants. Like in our case, we have a literally list of them that they submit on our website. Hey, I would like to participate. So it will build a backup plan and stuff like that. But yeah, Justin, I'm curious, what do you have to say here?
I don't know if I could second you there. Oh, and any other angles on that question?
Well, no, I'm just, I guess I'm keen to hear a good story more than anything else. I mean, you've obviously done some, but any good stories of people turning up and saying something they shouldn't have, or whatever it might be. You just have to move on the moment.
People do a lot of rap. This is funny. Yeah. They come in and they just start busting out rap songs, and that's unexpected. Wow. So I was like, oh, I just made this rap because they're trying to win so badly. Okay. We also have situations where the competitiveness is so crazy, we have to bring people back because there's like a harsh call or something unfair happens. So we try to balance it because we're all about, equalization and democratization in the sense of a meritocracy, in the sense that a chief revenue officer could be a competitor. It's not hierarchical, like, oh, you have 20 years experience, you're the coach. If we want to put an SDR who has a couple of years experience as a coach and have C-levels in the competition. So we've really experimented with kind of the power bar. And that starts to have everyone admire different elements of skill. So that's been cool. But we've seen things where like people combat, they just like vote someone off who was the best and you're not exactly sure why. So, wow. Yeah, it gets like Hunger Games for real.
Yeah, it's like reality TV in the go-to-market world. I love it. So the book is Reinventing Virtual Events. Tell us what somebody's going to learn from that. Why should they go and read the book, and what are they going to get from it?
So if you read any, entrepreneurship book, any marketing book, any sales book, you'll see that really 99% of the problems actually stem from marketing. And marketing, not in the sense of positioning or, messaging. And it's really sad, Owen, that I'm curious to hear from you that the function was simplified to only, ads and comms in its essence. Demand gen, comms, that's all we do. And I just, I saw this memo from 1931 where, Procter & Gamble founder just lined up like a set of responsibilities for a brand man. And in that list, we had drive revenue. And the most important thing, actually influence the product. I feel that the biggest miss that is happening when actually product and marketing alignment, more than even sales and marketing alignment. And because of the product and the absence of BMF or other problems in functionality, you name it, we all know it, it's hard for both sales and marketers to do their job, on the level that they should. So in the book, we talk a little about that problem. We give our spin on it, our solutions that, focus on retention, focus on referrals, both for sales and marketing departments, saying how do you measure event effectiveness? It's not MQLs. It's how many referrals you get. Think about a way to track it. We use LinkedIn login on our website. Just the first step, that enables you to track your whole customer journey way better than just, by filling out one-time email. And yeah, the biggest one, the marketing thing is, as Justin mentioned in the beginning, we are rarely happy with the conversion of the MQLs that we're bringing to the table into any kind of pipeline. And we tend to blame not ourselves, but the sellers and their skill sets that is not letting it happen. So we give our recipe here, and we feel that definitely sellers can just bitch slap the prospects. You attended this podcast, great. I was listening to this. I had this happen actually the other day. I liked a kind of lazy post on LinkedIn, and I had 5 touches email sequence where a person was trying to sell me something just based on my like. Hey, I see you like Kyle Lacey post. So here's my, sales engagement software. Well, great. It's quite of a, transition. So the goal is to avoid that and to align with marketing messaging. Try to think about a sequence. Try to think about creative campaigns. Like, we had someone sending a brick. That's crazy as it sounds, but it's memorable. We send a wine to our community with a label on it, B2B, boredom remedy. So something like of that nature. What about you, Justin?
Wow. There's so many creative angles to take on this question, Julia. You're so thorough. I appreciate it. How do you stand out, Owen? I mean, what do you really want to know? Like, would you read the book? I want to challenge you. Would you read our marketing book on virtual events since you have the podcast?
I would now. I would now. And
that's what we face.
Yeah.
That's sort of the message, right? Like, this book is written about GTM, marketing, sales, and there's even sales tactics, because right before the event, after the event, because how many times as a sales leader have you gotten a pile of leads from marketing like, hey, get to these as fast as possible. They all came to the webinar yesterday. That's not really a bad idea, but what about having natural conversations with them? What about frameworks and methodologies to hit them up? So shamelessly, like, I'm converting the topic to my method. This happens. I'm like a hammer with a nail,
The best part, to Justin's credit, the best part about his method is that it works often. And I tested them. I documented almost every sales methodology out there. In that startup that I was mentioning, it was like a product hunt, but method hunt for sales. So, I used, as a marketer, I used Justin's method to write sequences to, TechCrunch. And every journalist out there, literally with a solution that back at the time had a questionable product market fit, they all responded to me. Like literally 90%. Now we're fundraising. So all of the investors respond first touch using that methodology. Obviously, we partner with 70, top partners in B2B using that methodology. So yeah, we can talk about a lot of, high level philosophies, but there are things that work, and Justin's stuff is really amazing. Check out, to all of you who didn't see it yet, but I feel that all of the LinkedIn is already aware of
it. I put it on Reddit, and they took my LinkedIn profile down because they're like, that's not real. It's not a free system that gets meetings. And it was. It just gave it all away on there. So, oh well, I'm not a cool Reddit kid.
Me neither. Don't worry about it. Look, guys, it's been lovely to chat with you. Just talk me through 2 things. One is, where can people go and get the book from? And we'll encourage people to do that. Make sure we share the link on the content of this. And then the second is just around HYPCCCCYCL. Who can you guys help, and who should be talking to you?
Where you can get a book from is just you go to reinventingvirtualevents.com, and you can choose the best book provider, preferably Amazon. You didn't hear that. If you can leave us genuine reviews, that would really help us. Whatever you're saying, we have a thick skin, so really curious about your feedback all. And In regards to Hype Cycle, if you want to participate, you can write a message to me or Justin on LinkedIn. As a coach, I would actually like to feature you in one of the games, and having you aligning sales and marketing.
Always happy to be involved.
Cool. Justin.
Yeah, all I can say is there's a lot of skeptical sellers out there like, oh, why would I read an event book? But your personal branding, if you're going to do a podcast, if you're going to do a side hustle, look at what it's done for Owen and for us. It's just to go and get your brand out there. What do you do? How do you make it compelling? If you're an event marketing team, if you feel like your marketing team is putting out static, like the scene in Pink Floyd, we don't need no education. Like if you're getting gray food, send it to them, help the marketers, let them help you, get involved, offer to do something like this, so we're really on a mission to elevate this stuff.
Good stuff. Well, look, we will share when we push this podcast out, we'll make sure it goes out with a link, so you can go get the book. Justin, Julia, thank you to both of you for joining us today. Really enjoyed chatting, learning about the book. Justin, obviously books are becoming a habit for you. When can we expect the next one?
I don't know. We're on at least a 2-year mission here to push this thing super hard. So really only appearing about this right now. We lost Julia for a minute.
Yeah.
Back. Good stuff. Well, look, I'll certainly encourage people to go look at the book, and I'll be taking a read myself. To both of you, thank you very much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you both.